So I probably should have put this video out before I did the other investing for beginners video, because I have to give you some pretty important information here in this video about what you should be aware of before you invest. Now, this is going to be a series on the channel called Investing for Beginners, where I'm going to try to help you get started. And you definitely have to watch the other video. If you have not watched the other video, you can watch it after you get done with this one, because this is some information that you need to be aware of before you invest, okay? Stuff that you should know. Number one, investing is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm going to say that again because people don't seem to understand this. You're not going to get rich quick investing. Even if you are a day trader, which I'll do a whole video on that, you are not going to get rich investing quickly. Can you build wealth over time? Yes. Can you get rich down the line? Yes, for sure. Whatever your definition of rich is, it's possible with investing. But when it comes to investing in the stock market or anything like that, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen in the first year. I'm telling you. You need to be aware of this. If you are getting into this to figure out some way to stop working, you're probably going to fail. So what you have to understand about investing is a way to beat inflation. Investing is a way to have a nice nest egg so that when you are older, you don't have to worry about living off of Social Security. You can live off of a nice, good amount of cash that you have invested when you retire or even before you retire. Because if you invest wisely and if you start young, you can retire young. You can retire at 40, 45, 50, 55. The older number I'm saying, the more likely it is. And retiring at 40 is very hard. Very, very hard. And you have to already be making a ton of money in your 20s and 30s to do that. And be wise with money too. But 45 is possible. 50 is possible. Depending on how you want to live and how much work and patience you want to have. Also, like I've said before, investing requires a lot of patience. Not everyone's built for this. When you look at your stocks and you see them go down, people do what's called panic selling, where they sell because they're afraid, oh no, I'm going to lose it, I better sell now. And they end up losing money because if they were just patient and they waited for the stock to go back up, they would be able to make money. Or if they were to buy while it's going down. You should be buying while it's cheap, selling when it's high, if you want to sell. If that's the choice you want to make. The thing is, people get really scared. Like last year, when the pandemic happened, when it first happened, a bunch of my stocks plummeted. And there were tons of folks that were selling. And that is the wrong time to sell because we knew it was temporary. We knew it wouldn't last forever. And thus you put more money in because it's cheap. That's how the game works. But if you do what's called dollar cost averaging, which is when you invest during a consistently invest over a period of time, you don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to worry about the numbers either. But that's a different video I'm going to do, focus more on that later. Also, please be aware that when you invest, if you take money out, whether it be through sales or dividends, you have to pay taxes on that money. It's not just free money. With the exception of certain tax beneficial accounts that over the long term you can take money out and not pay taxes, like Roth IRAs, you have to pay taxes on that money. It ain't just free money. Okay? People think that, well, why is my return so short this year? Well, how much you make on investments? Oh, that's why. You know, that's how it is. You got to pay taxes on that. But the idea is, at least my idea, is long term, not short term. If you are in this long term, you have a much higher chance of being very successful and very wealthy than if you're in it short term. And so many people during the Dogecoin thing have this short term mentality, not realizing that they are fucking up big time with their money by not knowing what to do, by not doing the research. Something else you should be aware of is that when it comes to investing, it's not a bank account. An investment account, a brokerage account with a firm, whether it be with Vanguard, Fidelity, whatever bank you want to do it with, Cetera, or whether it be with your own sort of brokerage that like one that you find in real life, whatever. It's not a bank account. You can't just take money out without facing consequences. Sometimes you get charged penalties. Sometimes you get charged fees. Or you get charged for taxes. You got to pay taxes on it. The idea of investing is that you put money in wisely and you let it grow. You let your money grow for you through compound interest. And if you don't understand the principles of compound interest, go to YouTube and type in Dave Ramsey compound interest and watch the video. It's like a 6-minute video where he explains how somebody who starts investing at 19 can become very wealthy even if they stop investing in their 30s. And that's legit, thanks to the power of compound interest. Doesn't happen for everybody quite that way because life gets in the way, but it is certainly possible, and it is something that's very doable. So you have to understand, it's not a bank account. You can't just take money out. If you put money into an investment account and then some kind of financial hardship happens to you, you have to do your absolute best not to touch that money because you will suffer consequences. You will be charged penalties. If you put in $3,000 and then say, oops, I need that money now, and you take it back, you're going to get charged a fee for that. You might get back $2,800. You just lost money. You have to put it in and be patient and let it grow. Then that way when you take it out, you have so much more interest earned, so much compound interest, that whatever the fees are, if there are any fees, because if you take it out during a certain time, during a certain age, there won't be any. When you get to that point, it won't even matter. You know what I'm saying? It won't even matter at that point. So you have to be aware of these things. People get in this thing thinking, again, oh, it's going to be easy, get rich quick. I'm telling you, you are going to fail. And it's not going to be the investment's fault. It's going to be your fault for not listening. Long term. You have to think long term. 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Some of you don't want to wait that long. There are some short-term investments out there. For sure there are. I want to talk more about the long-term stock market investments. I want to talk more about that. More about real estate investment trust. That's what I want to do this video series about. How to really make money. Put money in now so you can make a ton of money later. That's what I want to talk about with this series, not short-term investments. Those do exist, but most of the time, you have to have a lot of money up front. When it comes to long-term investing, it's about putting a little bit in, a little bit in, a little bit in. So even if you're making a job, if you have a job where you're making $40,000 a year, let's say, take a little bit of that and put it in, it's going to matter. It builds up, it builds up, it builds up, it compounds, it compounds. That's the idea long-term. You must be aware of that. You must also be aware that when it comes to taxes, most investment firms are not going to send you tax forms until mid-February. So if you get your W-2s and your 1099s in January and you want to file your taxes in January, you're not going to be able to do it until you get your February forms. If not, you're going to have an error on your taxes. And you might get a call from the IRS, or at least a letter. You have to wait until mid-February or even late February, early March before you file. And that's good advice because there's people out here who wait till the last week to file. They wait till the last week of April or the last week of tax time in April before they file, which is a foolish mistake. If you have no investments and you have a W-2 and that's it, file right when you get it and be done. Just finish and get your refund. Most likely. Be aware of that. Also, here's a really important one. If you have problems with debt, if you have major debt, whether it be credit card debt, whether it be student loans, you'll want to do your absolute best to pay off that debt before you invest. Obviously, if you're still a student and you're working to get to your degree, or if you just graduated and you are making your money and you're starting to pay off those loans and you want to invest a little bit, I'm not going to advise against that. But if you have debt, you'll want to eliminate your debt, because once that debt is eliminated, then you can focus on really going ham on the investing, really putting in a lot of money. But if you're young and you have extra money, Roth IRAs have limits, yo. And if you fail to meet those limits, you're not going to get a chance to hit them until the next year. So there's things you have to kind of think about. But when it comes to debt, make sure that you do the best you can with paying off debt. Also, if you are not good with money, if you are an impulse spender, now again, there's different levels to this. There are some folks who impulse spend once in a while. There are some who actually impulse spend while planning things out. Like, okay, I'm going to buy this on this day. That's not really impulse spending, but some would say, well, why are you buying that? You know, things like that. If you have to be the guy who has to have the new pair of Jordans every year, or you have to have the new iPhone every single year, you got to really look into controlling that. And the reason why is because unhealthy habits can transfer over to your investments, and you're going to end up making mistakes, like selling too soon or buying too soon. And you really shouldn't look into that too much, but people make these mistakes, so I'm giving you a warning ahead of time. If you are not good with money, if you are historically somebody who spends a lot, you have to have some discipline. You have to have discipline if you're investing. Discipline and patience to put money in and wait and be patient. These are things you need to watch out for if you are investing. If you're getting married, here's a big one. If you are going to get married, make sure she's 100% on board, because if you go through a divorce, if you go through a contested divorce, your wife might be able to get a lawyer and take half of your investments. Not just half of your cash, your marital property. If she has a tiger shark lawyer, she could take half of your investments. Be aware of that. Letting you know that now, because people think, oh, well, marital property, that's just like the house we own, right? No, it includes retirement benefits and investments. Be aware of that. Prenuptial agreements are very, very important. Also, be aware that you're going to have a lot of shysters who are going to try and scam you. I see it all the time. Hey, so what if I told you that if you take $1,000, I can make it into $1 million in just 5 years? Huh? You wouldn't believe me, would you? Well, I've done all this bullshit. Bullshit. I've seen it myself. What is going to be the top new stock? Is it tech? No, is it? I'm telling you, do your own research, including everything I'm telling you right now. Do your own. I encourage you to do your own research. You need to be aware of these things before you invest. This is not a game. Some see it as a game. It's not a game. It's something that's really beneficial for a lot of people, and you could end up having a really good life. Don't quit your job and become an investor unless you have a lot, and I mean a lot of training. And if you have a lot of training, you're not going to even have a regular job. Unless you get hired by an investment firm, in which case, get to it. But that's a regular job, you know what I mean? Try to be able to control your stress. If you are a high anxiety person, try to be able to control your anxiety when it comes to this, because like I said, you have to have patience and discipline. You don't want to get anxious over a stock not doing as well as it's doing. You need to think long term. You're not going to grow your money into $1 million overnight. It's going to take years. I'm telling you. That's what this game's really about. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And in a way, it is easy if you understand the principles. If you sit there and you understand, okay, I'm going to invest this amount of money every month, and by the time that I'm 45, it's going to come back in dividends, and literally in dividends, and it'll come back and benefit me. If that's your mentality, then it is easy, because you just put the money aside. You know you're going to, at the end, you're going to reap the reward. You reap what you sow. But if it's something where you're, again, get rich quick, I'm telling you, that is the biggest mistake you could possibly make. You're going to lose. So understand these things. Do your own research before investing. These videos are meant to be just like a gateway. The idea is that you eventually will do your own research and look into these things yourself and figure everything out on your own. I'm not here to guide you every single step of the way. I can't do that. I legally can't even do that because I'm not a financial advisor. But I'm telling you factual information you need to be aware of before you invest. And remember these things, because if not, they could come back to haunt you. Trust me on this one. With that being said, I will bring this video to a close. Remember that take it one day at a time. But remember that it's going to take a while before you really reap it, but you absolutely will. Or at least you absolutely can. I can't say you will because people make dumb decisions, but if you stay smart and stay patient, you can. We'll talk soon.